just, I just, I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 144 of the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm your gracious host, Greg Lacey. Like we always do about this time, all this episode reach you all in good health, good wealth, and that you are taking care of yourself and your loved ones. We know just how important that is. And last episode, I want to close out what I was speaking about last episode so that I can bridge it to this episode. So give me a couple minutes. Not going to take too much time, but I just want to make sure that my message came across correctly. Like I said, I'm still getting the feel for this. I've been away for so long that on the playback when I was listening to and editing last episode, I was like, okay, I kind of need to explain more. The conversations around gatekeeping traditionally are focused upon keeping things out, which I'm not opposed to and I'm wholeheartedly for. However, in the conversation that I was speaking about last week, I was more speaking towards being more aware and being more selective on who we are letting in to those gates. And I think that as time progresses, I think that needs to become more important and more prevalent, because the thing with gatekeeping is that whatever we're gatekeeping, whether it's art, whether it's culture, whether it's style, whatever the case may be, we live in an information age. We live in a digital age to where things are at our fingertips. And so people interests literally spans so wide because you can find out so much more things in today than you were in previous years. And so when you have the interest for certain things are at an all-time high, it becomes harder to keep people on the other side of those gates, because the crowd of people on the other side of those gates become too large to manage. And now you're not strong enough to maintain your force behind that gate. Speaking in the sense of gatekeeping. However, what we can do is what we can do is start to pick people out of the crowd and let them in to those gates. And we have to be more selective. We have to be more, just more strict on that. I think that, there's this phrase on inviting such and such, inviting, whoever to cookouts for Black people. Because we see somebody of another race reciting the lyrics of a certain song. We see somebody of a certain race dressed in a certain way. We see somebody of a certain race talking a certain way. We see somebody of a certain race dancing a certain way. And now all of a sudden we're inviting them to the cookout without actually delving into their intentions, without actually delving into the history, without delving into who these people are. We're just inviting them to the cookouts. And the way that I want to put this and give you all a couple examples so we can drive this home is, think about, and again, I speak from a Black experience, but the term gatekeeping and culture can apply to any culture. I obviously speak for Black people because I'm Black and that's a culture that I represent. So that's who I speak for, but this can apply to any culture. Think about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is something for Black Americans traditionally. It's this big feast. And traditionally, this is when some of the best food is cooked in our family. Whether it's great-great-grandparents, great-grandparents, grandparents, whatever the case may be, there are certain recipes that's been in our families for decades on decades on decades. And when Thanksgiving comes around, there are certain people who have been trusted to prepare certain dishes, whether it's a recipe that was passed down from, great-great-grandma, and great-great-grandma actually taught you how to prepare this, or it was a recipe from great-great-grandma that was passed down to great-grandma, and great-grandma taught her daughter, and then she ended up teaching her daughter. And this is a rites of passage, and you were trusted to prepare this meal or prepare this dish. And so now the entire family trusts you. Think about, you show up to Thanksgiving one day and there's a certain dish, let's say, like in my family, one of the proper dishes is dressing or stuffing, whatever you want to call it. And this is something that's been in my family for years. I can imagine showing up to Thanksgiving one year and somebody who has never prepared a dish for, let's say, for a summertime cookout, haven't prepared a dish for 4th of July barbecue, wherever the case may be, is now preparing a Thanksgiving dish just out of nowhere. They had no history with cooking. and then we all get together and we feast, and that one dish has been sacred to our family, has been prepared by this person, and it's nasty. That's going to throw off the atmosphere for Thanksgiving that year. And so now in the coming years, when we're gathering together at whoever's house and people are like, are you coming? Your question is going to be like, well, who's cooking what? Because now something that was something that was so sacred, something that was so important to the makeup of this annual get together for your family has been ruined. And so now you don't trust them. And so when I was speaking about the sacred part of gatekeeping in the previous episode, that's all I was meaning. It was like, there are certain things that are sacred to our culture that makes up the identity of our culture, whether that's style, whether that's fashion, whether that's ethics, like having respect for others, treating people a certain way, whatever the case may be. Those certain things are sacred to us. And the more we lend these things out, the less sacred they become. We can go away from food. We can go to personal thing. Fellas, y'all give me women too. You can apply this to women, but I'm not speaking for women because I'm not a woman. A woman. Fellas, think about, you got this somewhat close to a perfect woman. You love her. You spend a lot of time together. Y'all share a lot of emotional connection. Y'all share a lot of physically intimate connection. And that bond between the two of you is sacred. Don't even think about it, because this is the type of shit that make niggas end up doing bids in prison. This is the type of stuff that make niggas lose their mind. This is the type of stuff that make niggas not be able to sleep at night for a whole month. But just for this moment, for the sake of this podcast, think of that bond that y'all share. It can be physically intimate. It can be emotionally intimate. And picture her sharing that with someone else. Aside from just the bond that you all have, the part that makes that so unique is that it is unique to you two. It is sacred for y'all bond. It is sacred for y'all relationship. And so the minute that's being dished out to somebody else, it's not sacred because it's not unique. It's being shared. And think about how sick that makes you. And think about how just the how bad your stomach would turn learning that something that y'all once shared was so sacred is also being dispersed to the community. I'm not going to use the phrase, but y'all know community, whatever the case may be. But think about that in terms of gatekeeping certain things. Like, you want to gatekeep that relationship. You're not going to go to your friends bragging about something that's so sacred to y'all. You're not going to go to a stranger bragging about something that's so sacred to y'all, because if it's so good, why wouldn't I want to go test that out? Why wouldn't I want to go try that out? We have to think about that. And that brings me to my next point, which is going to drive the rest of this entire episode, which is, it's okay to shut the hell up. We are in a day and age to where we are talking just way too much. We are offering way too much information on ourselves, on the people around us, on things we have no business speaking about that don't involve us. We are just talking so much. I was in Trader Joe's today, and usually Trader Joe's, the cashiers and stuff are very friendly. If you've never been to Trader Joe's before, they're very friendly. It's like the supermarket version of Chick-fil-A. And on the next aisle over, the lady is being checked out, and the man is like, oh, how's your day going today? You got any big plans? And she tells this man, yeah, I'm planning on driving to a nearby city, because I'm saying nearby city, but she says what city it is, because my daughter has a game at such time. And I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, like, I'm already knowing I'm about to record this episode when I get home. But I'm sitting there in my mind, and I'm thinking, like, why are you offering that information? Like, it's a very busy day. It's a lot of people in the store, and you just told everybody in here where you want to go and at what time you're going to be there. On top of that, you're going to be with your daughter. If I was moving a certain way, that's all I need. I can just literally follow you from the supermarket and follow you to that city, or I can just go to that city and peruse around that city, and hopefully I find your car. If I was trying to do something to you, not saying that but just to drive my point home. Another thing I seen today, I was on TikTok. there's this music festival going on, and I guess a trick and a hack for if you have never been to a music festival, you know you can't bring in outside drinks, and you especially can't bring a liquor. However, people do sneak in liquor because if you've ever been to a music festival, liquor is very expensive, and so there's this trick, and I guess this is me stitching on y'all. I apologize, but there's this trick that women have been doing to where there's these clear long flasks that are about the same size and length and circumference of a tampon. And so what women have been doing is filling these flasks with liquor and putting them in tampon packages and just resealing it. And so there was this video on TikTok of the security guard at this festival going through, obviously, you know, if you bring a bag into something like that, it has to get checked. So this man is going through this woman's bag, and there's like 5 tampons on the table. And what he's doing is he's going through opening the packages and dumping out liquor, because obviously you could feel the difference between the weight of a liquor flask and a tampon, because I'm speaking way too much about tampons in this damn episode, but there's a difference in terms of weight. And so all you really have to do is pick up the package and say, okay, this is not a regular tampon. Why is this shit so heavy? So he opens it, sees liquor, dumps it out. He's going through like 5 or 6 different packages of these. And I'm going through the comments, and a lot of people like, yeah, of course, like they're doing that because y'all on TikTok telling everybody this is what you do. Like that is another form of gatekeeping, something that was sacred. Like women were able to get away with this for so long because it was a secret. It was something that was sacred to them. Obviously, men are not walking around with tampons. However, they have to because of emergencies and certain things like that. And it's just something that they carry on their purse in case of emergency. However, they were able to flip it to something so where they can, you know, now sneak liquor into festivals and things like that. And so that's something that's supposed to be sacred to y'all. But because you get on the internet and you're offering this information and you're telling everybody what you're doing, you don't think the people who are working the front gates of these festivals are also on TikTok. Y'all think that y'all are the only people that is on TikTok, is the people that have access to tampons. So that's one thing. But aside from that, like people are just talking way too much. We have men on podcasts talking way too much. The irony. But no, like in my time away, it's been so many clips I've seen on social media of men just talking just way too much. Men talking about intimate details they with women, which for all my life, that's something you don't do. You don't kiss and tell. You don't speak about, especially details like that with women, whether you're with them or whether you're not with them. That's just not something you offer to the public. You keep that to yourself. Men are talking about that. Men are talking about men is giving advice on things that they shouldn't be giving advice on. Men is including themselves in women's business. Men are on podcasts just talking way too much. Again, I understand the irony because here I am, you know, being a chatterbox, whoever the case may be. But those are just a few examples. Like niggas, you can go to whatever you want and you can find different clips about why niggas shouldn't have podcasts whose name is not Greg Lacey. But it's a lot of those out there. Women in general. And I'm sorry, I understand this statement isn't toxic, and I don't mean to be toxic, and I don't mean to put a stereotype on women, but I will say that one stereotype with majority of women that's relatively true is y'all just talk a lot. Like, I'm not even gonna go further, because if I go further, then it's kind of get borderline disrespectful. Not that I'm intending to get disrespectful, but women, y'all know y'all talk too much. Y'all talk in the wrong time. Y'all offer too much information about things that y'all need to offer information about. Y'all go on long rants about things. Y'all tell 1 hour stories that could be told in 5 minutes. And that's just that. I'm not gonna go and drag on. I love women. I love y'all. So y'all don't kick my back in. But y'all talk too much. Just in general. Not about one specific thing. Y'all just talk too damn much. Criminals are talking too much. Criminals are committing crimes and going on social media and talking about the crimes they committed. Rappers are turning into, criminals are turning into rappers, and they are committing crimes, and then they're rapping about their crimes, but then they're getting arrested when detectives begin to piece details together based off the things that you were rapping about. You're rapping about location, you're rapping about time, you're rapping about settings, you're rapping about specific names, and it's just like, why? People in street life, we've seen in the last couple of years, people, whether it's rappers, whether it's people that are from the streets turning podcasts, people from the streets become entertainers, talking about things that you should not be talking about in the public. But we live in a day and age where we need this gratification. We need social gratification. And the best way to gain that is to talk about things you should not be talking about. I think it's because it's the absurdity of the things you are talking about is why people are tuning in. And so that is like fueling these people to continue to talk about things they shouldn't be talking about. Kids talk to them. No, I'm just playing. Kids do not talk to them much. Let them kids talk. Let them express themselves, because if you don't let kids talk, you will end up with a nigga like me. Not that I wasn't allowed to talk. I don't want to frame it like that, because I definitely was allowed to talk, but I grew up in kind of a strict house. I was raised by a single mother. She has 7 kids, and she had to put her foot down. Like, how we were raised was what I say goes, and a lot of times there wasn't no rebuttal for that. Granted, I bucked the system the older I got, because if you know anything about me personally, I don't really agree with following rules too much. To this day, I don't agree with rules being passed down to me or a delegation or anything like that. It's just something like that just grinds my gears. And so me and my mom butted heads a lot growing up. Me and my mom were straight down. My mom was my nigga. Not to call my mom my nigga, but my mom is my nigga. But the environment I grew up in, it was, this is the rules, this is the law, this is, you abide by them, no questions asked. And that is how the first 18 years of my life was set out, is I just followed the rules. Granted, the rules and the things that she, set out for me led me down the path that it led me, and I turned out well. However, in that same sense, it also gave me the sense of where I am now to be very opinionated. And for right or wrong, it's not always accepted well. I can say there's some women out there that I can say, if that nigga just didn't talk so much or didn't have an opinion about everything, things probably would have worked out. There's probably some friends that feel that way. There's some family members that definitely feel that way. But I will say, the people that know me and love me, they understand that that's just a part of me. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to speak my piece. And that's just what I want to do. However, I think large part of the reason why I do that is because I didn't feel like I don't want to say I didn't feel like I had the opportunity, because I was like kind of like down talking to my mom, but I didn't grow up in an environment to where I felt like I could be expressive. I'm not going to say that, it was shunned upon or I shouldn't have been expressive, but I felt like I couldn't have been expressive. And so definitely let those kids talk. I went on a tangent, but let those kids talk so y'all don't end up with opinionated people like me once they get older and begin to get a mind of their own. But no, going back into this everybody's talking thing, it's like, excuse me, there's way too much information out there about things that we should be holding close to our chest. If we're talking in a sense of playing poker, like, we are showing our cards. We're not holding anything close to our heart. We're not showing no poker face. We're literally saying, hey, this is this is that. This is what I did. This is where I was at. This is what they did. This is who I was with. And it's just like, that's way too much. Like the example was being in the supermarket. There's no way for you to be disclosing that type of information in public in a very busy store about your whereabouts. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And that leads me to what the main thing of this episode is. Just like, all right, actually, before I do get into that, let me preface this by saying that I don't know what I'm going to say the next 5-10 minutes of this podcast, but I will say that I'm not a person that lived the street life. I'm a military veteran. I'm a college graduate. I'm a very successful media planner. And I've done well for myself in life. I'm not going to say I never, but that is not something that I sought out to do. I've always been sought are led down the right path to make sure that I want more for myself. Not saying that the people who live a street life don't want more for themselves, but a lot of times people who do live a street life, they don't have options. I always understood from a young age that I had options to do better and to outgrow my environment. So that's one thing. With that being said, I still also understand that I understand certain things of a street life because I was raised by people who were active at one point in their life in the streets, and some people who are maybe still very active to this day. And those people are the people who know me and love me and have played a part in raising me. And so I have adapted some of the things, some of the rules, some of the regulations that they applied in their life, and I've adapted it to my life. And so I want to preface this by saying that, like, I am in no way encouraging anybody to live a certain way. I am no way talking down upon anybody because I understand it. But that is not something that was made for me. With that being said, I do also understand that this podcast and my demographic is around my age and a little bit older. And I want to say that we have a responsibility to help our youth. We obviously see what's going on in the world. A lot of things just look bad. And I've said this before that, like, my podcast a lot of time is not going to reach the ears of the youth because they're not tuning in to certain things like this. This is not appetizing for them. This is not appealing for them, the subject matter and what I speak about. That's why it's on us to ensure that we are passing it down. So I literally sit here and serve the purpose as putting that battery in your back to talk to your cousin, talk to your sibling, talk to the young kid across the street that, been living across the street from you for the past 10 years, a young kid that you see walking by your place of work for the past 10, 15 years, wherever the case may be, the young kid in the community, the young kid in the mentorship program that you are in. We have to pass along this type of information that we're going to speak about, because there used to be a code of the street, and we're living in a day and age now to where the code of the street is no longer. I know there's this saying as we're going around and saying that streets is a myth, and it is, because the things that made up the streets 15, 20 years, 30 years ago is not the things that made up the streets now. It's like the Wild Wild West now. It's no laws, there's no regulations. It's just do whatever. So I have this list of things that I think of off the top of my head of what the code of the streets are. It's not a manual of the code of the streets. This is just what I'm speaking about in this episode. There are far more things that I'm not going to discuss that should be on this list, but just for the sake of this podcast episode, these are the things that are on this list. The first thing I think about is sparing women and children. That used to be the number one code of the streets, is that no matter what you got going on with who, you don't involve women and children. You don't harm women and children. You don't bring women and children into a verbal altercation. You just don't involve women and children. They are innocent bystanders, and you keep them away from all those things. That's coming from the person if you are not the aggressor, and a person if you are the I guess we're going to say the personal defense, and a person that's the aggressor. You just keep women and children out of it. If women and children are present, you handle it another time. I know we've seen over the years so many instances to where women and children have not been spared. There's this unfortunate incident that happened, I want to say, within the last month, and I'm pretty sure you all have heard the story, and if you have not, you can go look it up, to where there was a local rapper in Texas. I don't remember what city it was. I want to say it was probably Dallas, and I don't even know what the backstory is, and the backstory don't even matter. But what is believed is that this local rapper had some tension or some beef with some people locally. And one day, him and his young daughter, 6-year-old daughter, were at a car wash, and people he was having problems with either followed him or got the drop on him at this car wash. They then proceeded, and this is broad daylight, to hop out of their car at the car wash and literally execute this man, and unfortunately take the life of his young daughter. If there were any code of the street today, that wouldn't have happened. It would have been, I want to do this, but we just have to catch him at another time. Or maybe, and I'm not going to go into that, we just have to catch him at another time. And again, this is not me encouraging people to do that, but this is the world we used to live in. This is the world of the people I grew up around. This is how they operated. In 2025, those things are no longer. If your wife is with you, if your kids was with you, and we are having a back and forth, I'm going to go after you. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's that. And I'm prefacing this by saying I'm not a person of the street life. And that's part of the reason why I'm not part of the street life, because I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I'm vindictive as hell. I hold a grudge. I don't know how to let things go. So I can imagine that had I had been somebody who didn't go down the route that I went and I ended up in the streets, I can't imagine you telling me that I have to wait to do something just because certain people are present. I want to take my gamble and hope that I don't cause harm to the people I'm not supposed to cause harm to. But if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take that gamble. And that's not the way that you should think. But this is why I'm saying I'm glad that that's not the route that I went down, because that's how I operate. And that is completely not okay. A lot of times people get disciplined when they do things, or a lot of times people did get disciplined when they did things like that. That's not happening today, because these young kids, not even just young kids, people around my age, they're operating they're going rogue. They're operating solo. They don't care. They deal with the consequences after. And that is very unfortunate, but that is one of the codes of the streets that is not being followed. Another code of the streets that, made up things in the past was don't snitch. I'm not going to go too deep in that because I had a whole episode where we spoke about it. If you have not heard it or seen it, go back to season 5 and listen to episode 125. It's an episode called Snitch. Sorry, nigga, I'm trying to come home. Go back and listen to that, because I broke that down, I feel like, very, very thoroughly. But essentially, we're not following that anymore. People are not only snitching on other people are snitching on themselves, which brings me to my next point, and not broadcasting everything you do. Now, when I said there are certain things that I've seen or adapted or watched and brought into my life, this is one of those things. Like, for the sense of safety, for the sense of not portraying yourself a certain way, for the sense of people not generating narratives about you, you just don't broadcast everything you do. And in terms of safety, if I'm going out to the club and I know I got ongoing beef with somebody, me on Friday night tagging whatever club I'm in is not the smartest thing to do. Because if I'm in a club, I'm probably drinking, I'm probably having a good time, my guard is probably down. However, I'm broadcasting where I'm at, and the people that's looking for me now knows where I'm at. So now I'm broadcasting where I'm at. And that's like one of the most extreme versions of why you shouldn't broadcast. But another reason is just like, when you start to broadcast certain things, people then begin to generate certain narratives about you. So let's say so far this year, I've gone on 3 vacations. And every time I go on vacation, I went to Instagram, I went to Twitter, I went to Facebook, and I post, pictures. This is where I'm at. Now, could be somebody I went to school with. It could be somebody I'm just friends with on the internet. It could be somebody I just don't know at all, and they just may be following me. They can see that and say, this man has went on a vacation every month of this year. He must got money. So now I'm either a target for the things that I have, or I'm the target of bargaining. Either way, it's just like that narrative is begin to get portrayed about you having money, and whatever other people do with that narrative is whatever they do. However, you're putting out this certain thing, or like, this is what I'm doing. Don't broadcast everything, people. I hope that we can get back to the points where we're not doing this. And I'll be 100% honest. I raised my hand. I was at one point guilty of this, especially when I was young, early 20s, 19 years old, 18 years old, getting first introduced to Instagram. And, this is when Instagram was actually pure. We were posting things we were eating, posting pictures of where we're at, wherever the case may be, hanging out with friends. I definitely did do that a lot, broadcasting what's going on in my life currently, what's going on in my love life, what's going on in my personal life, where I'm at, where I'm going, what I've just accomplished. I used to do that a lot. And then as I got older and I matured, I realized that this is not what I want. I want whatever narrative people would have about me, I want it to come from me. I don't want you to generate a narrative based off of things that you've seen or things that you've heard. I also don't want other conversations to happen outside of the conversations that I have with people. I don't want you to think that I'm broke. I don't want you to think that I'm rich. I don't want you to think that I'm struggling. I don't want you to think that I'm doing well. I don't want you to think that, you know, I'm in love. I don't want you to think that I'm going through turmoil. I don't want you to think that my family is not together. Like, those things are not anyone's business. And so I personally choose not to broadcast those things because it's just nobody's business. And so that's the way that I operate. However, when I was younger, I used to do that. But I got older and I feel like I got smarter, and I realized that this is not the things that I learned and the things that I've seen from people when I was growing up. You don't need to broadcast everything. You don't need to get people to drop on you. You don't need to let people have an opinion or a narrative or a story about you. And you don't need to let people know your whereabouts. I guess it's the same thing as getting a drop on you. And I'm not saying, and I get it, a lot of people, especially in the day of social media and the influence and things like that, a lot of people do need to broadcast those things. Those people are making money, but some of us, we aren't making money. We aren't making money on those things. We're just doing it just to do it. And you may have personal problems with somebody in your neighborhood. You may have personal problems with somebody you grew up with. You may have personal problems with somebody that you went to school with. And now you are giving them the drop on you. We have to move away from broadcasting everything we do. Even criminals, like, people are committing crimes, going on Facebook Live, going on Instagram Live, going on Twitter, speaking about said things. And this is going back to the thing about the concert hack. You think that you are the only people on the internet. You think that because you don't visibly see everybody who's watching you, you think that you have control of it, and it's not the case. You are broadcasting these things to the world. And just because you delete it don't mean that it's actually gone. It just means that you can't see it anymore. You can't access it anymore, and other people can't access it anymore. But once it's out into the world, it's out into the world. You don't know who's screen recording, you don't know who's watching, and you don't know who is hacking, whatever the case may be, and saving down everything you are doing or writing down everything that you are saying. And so we have to operate better in the sense of, like, if you're gonna be stupid and do stupid things, keep it to yourself. Like, get back to the day and age to where it was okay to keep things close to your heart and go to the grave with secrets and certain things like that. Like, whatever happened to taking things to the grave? Like, we live in a day and age where niggas is like, I got to get all this off my chest. I got to let everybody know what I did. I want to let everybody know so that I can be of certain status or certain stature, and you can look at me a certain way, and I'm going to broadcast this. And then that leads to a prison sentence, or that leads to somebody getting to get back on you. Like, we don't have to broadcast everything. I get it for the sake of you want to share updates on your life and things like that. Fine. But broadcasting every single step of your life, every single step of your day is not okay. And I hope that we can get back to that code. Another thing that was a code of the street is to stand out of women's business. I see too many men involving themselves in women's business, whether that's women on women's business, whether that's offering an opinion about women's business, whether that's arguing with women. We have to get away from that, man. Like, you can open up, as you're listening to this episode, you can open up Instagram, go to Shade Room, and look at the most recent woman drama with women celebrities or women influencers, wherever the case may be. And I can guarantee you, in the comment section of that, it's a lot of men offering an opinion about things that nobody asked them. There are men online sharing their opinions about women's bodies when nobody asked them. Y'all just elected a person in office who previous campaign was speaking about things about women's bodies and regulating women's bodies when nobody asked him. Men, we have to move away from that. Don't involve yourself in women's business. That's their business. And if you are a real man, you stay away from that. Another thing, and I feel like this is the most important thing, learn how to fight. And this may be toxic for me to say, toxic masculinity, but let's get back to the point to where men know how to fight. There's too many casualties because niggas are cowards and they don't know how to fight. And the way to handle things is with a weapon. There are too many casualties to where you're in a situation to where you have one person who know how to fight and another person don't know how to fight, and this person who don't know how to fight gets embarrassed. And so the retaliation is, okay, well, now I'm gonna take this person's life because my ego can't handle being embarrassed. So now I'm gonna do the ultimate thing and just take away your life and risk my freedom. Let's get back to knowing how to fight. And the last thing on the list that I have is just having morals and principles. I guess the most important part about having morals or principles is establishing morals or principles and understanding what morals or principles is. Whatever your unique morals or principles are, that's fine. But we have to get back to the point where we are identifying those morals or principles and having some discipline to follow those things. So if your morals is I don't drink liquor because I don't like the way it make me feel, or, I have a lot of family trauma and I don't want to turn to that and become an alcoholic, stand on that. Don't say that I don't drink liquor and then you have 3 of your friends coming around on Friday night and they're like, bro, they just take one shot. It won't hurt you. And now you're taking a shot. You're not standing on your morals and principles, and you're not practicing discipline and upholding those morals or principles. Uphold those morals or principles so that you can progress as a human being and progress through life. Like, let these morals and principles be your North Star. Whenever you're falling off track, whenever you getting depressed, whenever you're just losing your mind just a little bit, and that happens. We all go through bouts of things that just make us act out of character. However, our North Star outside of faith should be those. And a lot of times, faith is part of those morals and principles. So a lot of times, our North Star should be those morals and principles. So if you feel like who you are is, I'm a person that I'm very respectful. I'm a person that I don't take nothing from nobody. I'm a person who, is very religious, and I practice and I'm practice my faith this way or a certain way. Don't allow outside noise to take you off of track of those things. And so having morals and principles keep you grounded in that sense. So identify those things. Identify who you are. Identify what you need to progress. Identify what keeps your identity. Identify when you're going through a bad time, what it is that carries you through that. Those are your morals and principles. I hope that we can get back to a space, and this may be far-fetched, to where we are acting in accordance with having some sense of identity, because we're getting away from that. And it frightened me because of the youth having younger siblings, having younger relatives, having nieces and nephews. Like, the idea of being, whether a parent, being an older sibling, being an uncle, wherever the case may be, is to leave this earth better than you entered it. And with the day and age we are in now, those things are becoming more and more difficult, because it's getting worse and worse. As we get out of here, I just want to tell y'all, please, if you take anything away from this episode, if you don't have any morals or you don't have any principles, please identify those things as soon as possible and let that guide you through life. With that being said, please pass on this information to the younger people in your life, because they deserve it. We see the landscape of the world and the way things are going right now, and honestly, it looks terrible, and they deserve some guidance, just as we received guidance by people who had morals, people who had principles, people who practiced certain ethics, people who had certain rules. We owe that to them. It's too much discussion and debates about separating X generation from X generation, to where we should be passing along this information to help them out. That's really all I got for you all this week. My what to watch for this week. Shit, man. Go on HBOMax, watch The Wire. Shit, watch Marlo Stanfield. See how that man carries himself. Go on Hulu, rewatch Snowfall. Look at Franklin Saint. See how that man carries himself. Like, I understand they're fictional characters, but they still operated based off of morals or principles, and those things are important. That's all I got for you all this week. That's the Speak My Peace podcast. I'm out.